Here we are, PearCam, part 2 of this video. We're going to try to use constraints to make this PearCam. And remember, keep in mind that we're building ultimately this thing called an automata box, which are boxes that we've created will serve as the housing for them. And how we get the thing to move the way that we want to move, the way we want it to move, is going to be based on how we design this thing called a cam, or the shape of the cam. So this is called a pear cam, I hope for obvious reasons, kind of shaped like a pear, and we're going to use these dimensions, use some of these new ideas of constraints, and try to build that. Right? So I have already built the cam here, and I'm just going to sort of mouse over on the browser part, and you get a feel for how it was built. The last thing I did was cut that little hole in there. The first extrusion was making that shape, and remember, first thing before to make that shape, you have to whoops, too far. You have to make the sketch. So I'm going to go over here, and man, if you haven't found it out already, right, Inventor's really sensitive with where that mouse is. You click one place, it'll give you one menu. You click another, it'll give the other. So I want to see that sketch, and now if I mouse over it, you can see the sketch that I made it. Now, how did I get those shapes? They look like two circles and some lines. That's what we're going to take a look at. So I'm actually going to do that and open up a new one. Here, just a standard part. First thing we'll do is make a sketch. XY plane I like to do. And let's start with the circle. If you remember the circle down here, we'll start with the big circle and the small circle on top. The radius, that's what this dimension means, is 1.25. So we'll assume they're working in inches and build that first. So if I make a circle, center point circle, right? There's different ways to do it. You can scroll down here. We're going to make a center point circle. Let me get out of there. And I'll put it anywhere right now and just leave it there. So at this point, this circle is unconstrained. I can grab the side and I can still make it larger. Not only that, I can grab the center and I can move it around. So this is not a great circle to build with. If we move it, it may produce differences in our model that we don't want. We want to constrain that. So one of the constraints I'm going to do, and it's going to happen automatically, is I'm going to take this center point and I'm going to make it coincident with this one. And I think I can use the coincident command. But I'm also just I think I can just drag this through and it should just snap as I get it closer. Snapped right there. So it's automatically created a coincident constraint there. If I hit function F8, at least I thought if I hit function F8 it would show. Let me go ahead and try this method. Hit that. It tells me there's that. And that's showing that something's coincident at the origin. So I'm going to hit function F9 and get rid of that. You'll notice now that I can still change the size because I haven't constrained the size of it, but I can't grab it and move it around because it's coincident, it's constrained to there. So let's go ahead and fix the size then, and that means that we're applying another constraint, a dimensional constraint. So there's a couple ways we can do that. Again, we're going to look for an edit. Oops, so I turned it into a construction line. It takes me a while to find these. You can see I try to fake it, but I'm really just a couple weeks ahead of you. Well, let's just go ahead and hit the dimension button. So there's a couple ways that we can do it. We can do it this way, and we know that the diameter is supposed to be 1.12 or 1.25, or the radius is rather. I'm sorry, I just totally blew that. This is giving me a diameter dimension. So if I click this, go back, and delete this dimension. Man, I am butchering this. Now let's try it. Delete that dimension, and let's go back. Radius. Took me a while, but I found it, right? So I can set in the diameter. I can also do the radius, so that's the one I want because that's what's on the plans. And this is going to be 1.25. Scroll it down there in that case. So again, now it's constrained. If I click on it, I can't make it any larger. It can, it's telling me the diameter, which is just twice of the radius. So that's not changing the constraints. I'm not going to try to change that, so it's okay for that to be the case. Next thing I need to do is I need to build another circle. So there's lots of ways that we can do this. I'm just going to put a circle off here and see if we can use some constraints to put it in the right place. So we want this one to be a 1/2 inch. So I'll put in 0.5. I'm just going to go ahead and use that one there. And again, that 0.5 was a constraint. I can't make it any larger now. If I want to change it, I actually have to go in and edit that dimension itself. But again, I want this to be vertically stacked on top of it. This circle is constrained to that point, so I can't move it, but maybe I can move this one over there. Let's try a vertical constraint. I'm going to try this one. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to click there. And it did. Look at that. It did what I wanted it to do. And it stacked them up vertically. I should, because I haven't constrained where I want it, I can still move this thing around, but I can't move it this way, and I can't move it that way. So the next thing I want to do is I want to look at that plan. And I know that the distance between the center points should be 1.75. And again, there's more than one way to do that, but let's see if we can just use a dimension constraint to do that. I'm going to click this, drag off over here, and 1.75. There, now they're just touching each other. That's cute, right? Looks like a little snowman. So that's dimension. Now I can't move this at all, because this is constrained to that point. It can't move from it, and the distance between the center points is constrained by this. So it's kind of stuck in that orientation. That's okay. Last thing I need to do is I need to put the sides on it. The cam doesn't look like a snowman. I'm just going to use some more constraints. I'm going to slap a line longer than I need, something like that. And I'll put another one over here. Something like that. And I'm going to use this. It's a line touching a circle. The word for that would be tangent. The line is tangent to the circle. And when you mouse over the constraints, it gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and hit tangent. I'm going to hit this line and that one, and then this circle and that one, this and that one, and this and that one. They're all tangent, right? That's good. I'm going to escape to get out of the constraint command. So you can start to see the shape, but I got to trim some of this. This is one of my favorite features. I'm going to use the trim command right here, and it's going to allow me to trim anything between intersections. So get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of this, get rid of that, and that. It's okay to have the dimensions still there. So that's begins the outline. Let's finish sketch. And let's extrude it. And the extrusion is supposed to be 1/8 of an inch, or 0.125. There it is. That is it. That's your cam. I'm going to let you figure out how to put that little hole in the center that the axle would go through. But overall, we're starting to use constraints, and we're able to get stuff that's not just square, straight, right angles, and we're going to do even better than that in the future. Okay, give the cam a shot.